And I'd like to start by complimenting the organisers of today's event, because I've seen just over the last few years so many changes here, so many things happening that wouldn't have been possible even a few years ago. And I think to have an event of this quality, with this level of participation, and with 8 diplomatic missions represented here today, is a really phenomenal achievement and a sign of how fast things are developing here. So congratulations to ICSI. And also thank you to those who've come from Delhi to join us. Your presence here today is both a sign of the way Chandigarh is changing and Punjab is developing, and also a significant contribution to it. Just to introduce myself, my name is David Lelliott. I'm the British Deputy High Commissioner here in Chandigarh. This is a new Deputy High Commission. I arrived here in 2013, set it up. I'm lucky enough to have 2 members of my team with me here today, so if you want to find out more, please grab them. They're sitting there at the front, waving now. And when we set up, our remit is to strengthen the UK's relationships with 5 states across northwest India, including obviously Punjab. And education is a really key part of what we do. So I was originally asked to speak here today on best HR practices in higher education and how we intend to get Indian youth to universities and colleges in the UK. I'm not an HR specialist, much less an HR in higher education specialist, but I thought maybe I should share just a few thoughts on the general approach to HR in the UK, which I think is replicated in our universities, and obviously they make a significant contribution to its development. And there are some, I think, differences with the traditional Indian approach. I think the major thing we do is we have a very inclusive approach. We try to drive down decision making to the lowest level practical. We try to empower our staff. We encourage them to own their work areas. We tend to tell them what we want them to deliver, but leave it to them to decide how they deliver it. And we welcome ideas and participation from everyone and encourage everyone to contribute to things like strategizing and planning. In parallel with that, there's a very strong emphasis on continuous development and lifelong learning. We subscribe to the 10-20-70 model, that is 10% formal teaching, whether traditional face-to-face, classroom-based or online, 20% things like job shadowing, job swaps and so on, and 70% on-the-job, learning by doing, trying new things. I'm going to move on now, I think, to talk about education in the UK, including touching on some of the things that are happening in the innovation and digital space. And I thought I'd start, I came across quite an interesting list. It's some research that was done, and the researchers went through the global who's who and tried to identify who in that publication had been educated for at least part of their time in the UK. And the results are quite interesting. A lot of the countries participating today feature on that list. We have 7 Germans from the who's who who are educated in the global who's who are educated in the UK. A Norwegian, a Spaniard. I'm afraid no Swedes or Vietnamese. The really interesting part is the top 4, which had the most of their who's who educated in the UK. Number 4 on the list was New Zealand with 23. And number 3 on the list was Canada with 37. Number 2 was the US with 77. And number 1 was Australia with 101. So that's quite phenomenal when you think those countries, that huge number of their own elite have chosen, or their parents chose, to have part of their education in the UK. And that's, I think, a huge vote of confidence. For those who are wondering, India was 6th on the list with 12. Just behind South Africa. In terms of the UK education, the UK welcomes the brightest and the best international students to our world-class universities. A British education is a quality mark and a passport to global success. The UK is home to some of the oldest and most respected universities in the world, and some of the very best. We host 4 of the world's top 10 universities: Cambridge, UCL, Imperial College London and Oxford. And it's also home to 30 of the world's top 200 universities, according to the QS World Rankings 2016 to 17. Oxford has been ranked the best university in the world by the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, knocking 5-time champion California Institute of Technology into 2nd place, and Cambridge and Imperial College also joined the top 10. And a British education offers excellent value for money. British degree courses are often more intense than in many other countries, with students receiving top quality education in a shorter period, costing less overall than other destinations. I'm being diplomatic and not naming any of the other destinations. Studying in the UK is also a truly international experience. We attract more overseas students than any other country except the US, with almost 500,000 students from over 200 countries, including around 21,000 from India. The UK is a diverse, multicultural society, home to a large Indian diaspora. The UK and India host the largest Achieving Country programme in the world, with a £2.6 million budget to fund about 130 fully funded scholarships for future Indian leaders. And if you fancy Achieving Scholarship, these are very flexible, 1-year master's course scholarships for those in early mid-career. The application window for 2017 is now open. You have until the 8th of November. Just Google Achieving or look up UK and India website. The student visa process is straightforward for genuine students, with a large proportion of applicants successful. Students simply need to show they have a place to study at an education institution on our sponsorship list, have the funds to support themselves, and have the level of English language skills required to follow their course. Finally, 38% of Nobel laureates who have studied at a university abroad studied in the UK, more than any other country. And I'd like to stress here that the results of the UK referendum on EU membership have no implications for international students pursuing education in the UK, and that includes those who are currently studying in the UK. The UK has always been and continues to welcome high-quality international students to study. There is no cap on the number of international students who can come to the UK. I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of the wider programmes we do with India in the education space. First of all, we have UKERI, the UK India Education and Research Initiative, now in its 3rd 5-year phase, and this covers areas of higher education and further education leadership, e-partnerships, research incubation and skill development. We have the Newton Baba Fund, which is a programme to promote science and innovation collaboration between the UK and India. The UKERI GM, whereby the UK sends 100 academics to India over the next 2 academic years. The SWAYAM, whereby UK university-led content appears on India's new MOOC platform. And Generation UK India, which is something going the other way. It's encouraging UK students to come and spend a while in India. We also have the Connecting Classrooms programme, which is the 3rd phase of the British Council programme. And under our Achieving Scholarships programme, which I've already mentioned, we've expanded that hugely to create 130 scholarships now, the largest programme we have around the world. We also have the Education UK exhibition, whereby 60 UK universities exhibit in 10 cities across India, including here in Chandigarh. And the Research Council UK has a number of joint research programmes and university collaborations. We're also active in the skills space with activity including English language teaching and learning innovation. Underpinning all this is a very active engagement by British universities across India and of particular relevance today up here in Chandigarh and Punjab. By way of illustration, just taking the last few and the next few months, we have the Vice-Chancellor of Nottingham Trent University will be visiting Punjab and Chandigarh next month. And by happy coincidence, he is starting his visit at Guru Nanak Dev University in Amritsar, before coming on to Chandigarh, where among his destinations is Punjab University. We have Nottingham University and Birmingham University both have both signed MOUs with Punjab University in the last couple of years, are actively pursuing those. Cardiff University in Wales and Aston University have active programs in this region. Last week, the University of the West of England, Bristol, Glasgow Caledonian University and Birmingham University were here for a project with a local university. And the week before that we had the representative of the India country manager from King's College London here. So it shows how actively engaged our universities are in this region and how important this region is to them. Just a final few words about quality of UK education. The UK has a global reputation for excellence in education and skills. It is the second most desired destination for higher education, with 13% of international higher education students preferring the UK, according to a Universities UK report. And 92% of postgraduate students in the UK rate the quality of teaching positively. Through close historical and family ties, the UK offers Indian students a range of home comforts, such as temples for all faiths in major cities, access to familiar foods, as well as cricket and Premier League football. Now, I'm aware that you're going to be talked at quite a lot today, so I thought I'd make this now a little bit interactive. So I thought I'd ask, what do you think is the cap or limit that the UK government places on the number of Indian students who are allowed to study in the UK? What does anyone think? 1 lakh? Higher? I said there was no cap on international students. On Indian students specifically. 1 lakh? 50,000? The answer is correct. There is no limit on the number of Indian students who can study in the UK. We want to encourage more of India's brightest and best students. And frankly, we also want to encourage some who may not be the very, very brightest and the best, but others who can come and contribute to our university life. We want to encourage more of those who meet the standard. And I'd like to do, so having busted the myth that there's a cap on the number of Indian students, I'd like to look at another couple. Another popular myth that we hear a lot. Yeah, there's no limit, but it's very difficult to get a visa for the UK. It's very tough. So I wondered what you thought. What proportion of Indian students who apply for a visa get their visa? Any thoughts? Less than 60%? 60%? 70%? 80%? The answer is actually, last year it was almost 90%. Almost 90% of Indians who applied for a visa to study in the UK got the visa that they applied for. And that figure is actually rising. Just 2 or 3 years ago it was around 83–84%. So as long as you comply, as long as you are a bona fide student with an offer from a recognised institution, you should get your visa. Myth number 3. You can't work in the UK if you're an Indian student. The truth is, you can. You can work during your course and you can work after your course. During your course, during term time, you can work for up to 20 hours a week, and during the holidays, you can work full time. When your course ends, you have a 4-month period in which to find a graduate level job with a salary of £20,800, and then that company that takes you on sponsors you and you can get a 3-year work visa. And in some cases that work visa can be extended for another 3 years, making a total of 6 years. And you do not need to comply with any other additional labour market test. Your employer doesn't have to say, I can't find a British person or a European national to do this job. You compete on equal terms. as long as you've studied at a higher education institution in the UK for at least 12 months. I'm just going to conclude with a little bit more about our scholarships. Chevening is the British government's flagship global scholarship programme, funded by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and partner organisations. Chevening began in 1983 and is offered in over 160 countries, with over 1,500 awards on offer annually. There are over 46,000 Chevening alumni in the world and over 2,300 in India alone. The Chevening India programme is the world's largest, with £2.6 million budget for 2016 to 17, including partner funding, and around 65 fully funded scholarships for one-year master's programmes in any subject at a recognised UK university for graduates. We also have around 65 short-term thematic bespoke programmes at designated universities in the UK for mid to senior level professions in the fields of journalism, cybersecurity, leadership and management and science and innovation. A new fellowship programme on financial services is being introduced in March 2017. In parallel with Chevening, the British Council offers great scholarships worth over £1.5 million. 291 scholarships will be offered in partnership with 45 universities. A total of 59 undergraduate and 232 postgraduate awards will be offered for a range of subjects ranging from engineering and law to art and design and information technology across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Finally, we have a Commonwealth Scholarships programme for students from developing Commonwealth countries, which are offered for Masters, PhD and split-site PhD study in the UK. These scholarships are funded by the UK's Department for International Development, and on average 60 Indian students are supported by the Commonwealth programme each year. So, if you take just 3 things away from here, what I'd like you to remember is, don't believe what you read about Indian students not being welcome in the UK. Over 21,000 each year find they get a great welcome in the UK. We want more. The visa process is easy to navigate and you have a 9 out of 10 chance of getting your visa, which compares very favourably with other countries. And in fact, I would say your chance is more than 9 out of 10, because that 10% we get rejected include those who are bogus applicants and those who are a bit cavalier with completing their paperwork and don't provide the required documents. And finally, there are a range of scholarships available to support you, so please do check out Chevening Scholarships, great scholarships and Commonwealth scholarships. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a very productive 2 days.